Bev Miller, and welcome to Addictions Unplugged. Each week, my co-host, Dr. Vera Tarman, will answer your questions and concerns about addiction. Tonight, we're going to be discussing youth and addiction. Not only do today's youth have to contend with the traditional areas of addiction such as gambling, drugs, alcohol, etc., but with being raised in the technology age, they are dealing with issues and concerns that many of us never had to contend with. Some of you might know or are addicted yourselves to video gaming or social networking, or perhaps you're obsessed with the internet. Joining Vera and myself on today's show is an expert when it comes to youth and addiction, Susan Raphael, the Clinical Director for Young Ones, an organization serving youth ages 13 to 24. Once again, our topic tonight is youth and addiction. Perhaps you're concerned about your son or daughter, or maybe you're struggling yourself. Give us a call. We'd like to help. Dr. Vera, can you give us an overall view of the special needs and concerns when it comes to youth and addiction?
Okay, well, youth, first of all, we're talking about the age group of around 13, 14 to 23, 24, and there are some unique features about that age group. For one thing, that's the time in a person's life when they begin to do a lot of risk-taking behavior, and that's intentionally meant to be there so that a person learns at a relatively safe time in their life when they still have parental support to you know, push out into society and do things that are seemingly reckless, so that they learn what the boundaries of safe and unsafe are. You know, they're putting out their individuality, but within a safe context. And unfortunately, if they're exposed to drug use, I mean, the worst thing you can say to somebody is, "Don't do that. It's dangerous." To a teenager, that's exciting, and it's meant to be, because they're needing to learn how to set those boundaries. But unfortunately, it's not a safe context. The other thing is that at that time period, that's a time when a lot of mental illness starts to develop itself. We see first signs of schizophrenia around the age of 17 to 19, anxiety, attention deficit disorder, a lot of things start to show up at that time, which can muddy the picture and can also make a person even less able to gauge the safety of things. And so, again, if they're in a dangerous environment, like exposure to drugs, that's really a problem.
Right.
Then teenagers are immensely affected by peer. And if in a peer setting there's a lot of drug use, which there is, unfortunately, and Susan's going to talk a lot about that, then it makes it very difficult. So that where it might be easier for me to say, no, I don't want to do that because it's dangerous, it's going to be really hard for a teenager who wants to get along with everybody else.
Right. And I remember reading that for teenagers, the area of the brain that is involved with risk-taking and such develops later than the other areas.
That's right.
So, you know, if you're taking drugs early, you're going to really mess yourself up there.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a bit like a social window period, or a window period of time that teenagers have, that it's kind of like when you can learn a language best under the age of 10. There's a window period where you grasp language that if you do it a little bit later, it's going to take longer. There's a perfect window period, which is teenagehood, where people learn how to have a good, they develop their insight, like how to you know, explore their emotions, good judgment, and again, ability to set boundaries. And if they're drunk or stoned or you know, basically using up that time, that window period, and not expanding those skills or developing those skills, it's going to be harder later.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, Susan, let's ask you then, how does your organization, Young Ones, how does it help these youth?
Young Ones Breaking Barriers is an organization that was started about 3 years ago, so we're still in our infancy, and we're very excited to be doing what we're doing. We get to offer, at no cost, up to 10 counseling sessions for free.
Oh, that's awesome.
For young people 14 to 24. We also have a peer support group for young people with mental health and addictions. So they can come and be amongst themselves and mentor each other and coach each other on the struggles, the solutions, the challenges that they face.
Right.
We also have a strong education program, so we go into schools and post-secondary universities and give talks about young ones, about the barriers and the stigma facing mental health and addictions today for young people.
Right, and so how is it different from the programs that an adult would receive?
Oh,
Or
very
is
good,
it?
very good question. Yes, Young Ones strives to see clients immediately. So we are also breaking the barrier of wait times. So many of the facilities that are meeting adolescent and young people needs are just maxed out. Ontario's trying very hard to and striving to expand services for adolescents, but they are very underserved, the adolescent population. Young Ones is also an organization of consumer survivors, so that means that everyone involved has been through the mental health system or addiction system themselves. So they really have an understanding of what works and what doesn't work. So that's really what makes, one of the things that really makes us different. And we really want to get people help right away.
Right away. That is fantastic. You know, I was reading the numbers and was really quite astounded. We've got 57% of youth between the ages of 15 and 24 in Canada who have used drugs sometime in their short lifetime. 57%. That's more than half of our youth have tried that.
Yeah.
Earlier onset of drug use, drug abuse is definitely something that we're seeing more and more of, starting younger. And as Vera talked about, the brain is still very much, we're learning the brain is developing until the mid-20s, until 24 or 25. So we're really messing around with the wiring, if you will, when drugs are introduced and alcohol at such a young age.
Right, right. We encourage you to call in, callers. If you have someone, a young person that you're concerned with, or maybe yourself, please feel free to give us a call during the show. We are here to help. Now, ladies, another number that I actually wrote "wow" beside this because my eyes just popped open. 49% students in grades 10 to 12 that reported binge drinking in the past 12 months.
Right.
That's, again, half of our student population. Grades 10 to 12, they're so young.
Yeah.
So how does this happen? Is it a lack of, it's not a lack of education, is it? Are we not educating our...
You know, it's actually one of the features about, one of the pieces about that is, I mean, the whole pure thing is a big thing, but last week when we had Ann Dossett Johnson come in and she talked about the alcohol industry, one of the things about the alcohol industry is it's really targeted young and it's really targeted women, but I mean, it's made drinks that are like candy, so it's much more palatable. I mean, a lot of people have to develop a taste for beer or liquor. You don't have to develop a taste for one of these candy drinks. And then they become, you know, very popular, very acceptable. The peer support is immense. It's really immense.
Absolutely.
I mean, do people talk about your clients, about how they actually were introduced now in a way that you might recognize as different from our generation?
Well, you know, the interesting thing is it's so much easier for young people to get drugs than it is to get alcohol, because they still have to go through a liquor store system or have ID. So that's, I mean, that's kind of scary in and of itself, that it's easier access for an adolescent to go and purchase some drugs than it is to have some alcohol.
Right.
And again, speaking to your point about skinny girl, I mean, that's not marketed for the frat boy, that's marketed for the young women. And out of that 49% of students that are binge drinking, a good portion of that are young women who tolerate alcohol at very different rates than men do. And that's one thing that I do see as a trend, and Anne was speaking to that last week with the women, is they're doing shots all the time, and the influx of hard alcohol, hard drinking at very, very young ages.
The other thing that's different about my generation anyway is that we medicate our youth much more than we did in my age. I mean, I didn't know that many people. I don't think I knew anybody in my age group who was on an antidepressant or a stimulant like Ritalin or Adderall. I mean, there's so many kids now who are medicated, and they are not necessarily using those medications appropriately. I mean, the people that I see who started off with drug use will tell me about how they abused their Ritalin, or they took their friend's Ritalin, or they, you know, something like that. So there's exposure to medication, even illegal medication, that there just wasn't in their parents' generation. I think that their parents may not really get it, because even like, I mean, the opiate population, and when I think about the opiate epidemic that's out there, how many young kids that I have seen walk into my office, 17 years old, an opiate addict. Where did you get this? From my mother. You know, from the medication. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about our youth and using marijuana, because that seems to be a safe drug. That's what it's perceived as these days.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Well, before I get onto my high horse about that one, do you want to say something, Susan?
Get on your high horse. I'll join you there.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
okay. Yeah, marijuana has a perception of being safe because it's, from the 1970s, it was, it's the forgetful drug. It's the drug that makes people giggle and laugh and maybe a little bit take them out of their shell and they can talk, et cetera, et cetera. But what I don't think that people recognize is that marijuana has become significantly more potent in the last 15 years, like significantly. We're talking like 3% THC, which is the ingredient that makes you high or altered, and now we're looking at 20% and plus. And if we're looking at synthetic marijuana, which is now not actually marijuana, but where they've made the compounds of marijuana artificially, we're looking at possibly 50% more. Now we're talking about a drug that is as powerful as cocaine or something else. So it's no longer this safe haven that people have thought.
My goodness, I didn't even realize that jump.
Oh, sure. I mean, the whole issue about how to grow it, the different ways of breeding the strains so that you get something that makes you a little more smart and a little less sleepy, or something that's sleepy. I mean, they've become quite skilled at not only how to breed the strains, but also how to grow it. I mean, they're growing it in a way that has maximized the potency of the plant.
Okay.
Very cleverly.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We have Joan on the phone. Joan, welcome to Addictions Unplugged. Thank you for your call. How can we help?
I have a daughter who is a teenager. She's not a teenager anymore, but she's been drinking since a teenager, and the drinking is just really heavy drinking. I mean, she will admit to it. We did go to AA. I've tried other things, but I just don't know how to get her off of the drinking. She just turned 22. She's not working. She ended up dropping out of school, and just trying to let her understand she's going down the wrong path. But I really don't know where to go for help. Like, I know we have things in Etobicoke, South Etobicoke, and I took her to an AA meeting, and that didn't work. And she no longer, she lives really close to me. She doesn't live at home, but it's just to watch her go down that path is really scary.
Joan, has she indicated an interest in wanting to stop, or is it really you that wants her to stop?
Sometimes she says she wants to stop.
So it sounds that she's a little bit iffy then.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to make it really difficult. And it's going to make it very difficult for her to want to stop. Well, no, it's going to make it very difficult for her to stop, because if she doesn't really want to. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Susan, what do you do when you have I imagine you have a lot of kids that have come because their parents want.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Parents, well, thank you for your call, Joan, and you're right to be concerned, and she's lucky to have a mom who is concerned about her. Open communication, keep on dialoguing, keep on going to those open AA meetings with her. Try Al-Anon, which is the 12-step program for family members who have a loved one who is suffering from substance abuse or addiction issues. So, there is help out there, and I just encourage you to keep strongly advocating on behalf of your daughter. And, one day she may be ready to seek some help, and Young Ones is an organization that could certainly meet her needs, and the barrier will not be financial.
Can I ask you, Joan, too?
You know what? We're actually just coming up to break,
Okay,
but Joan,
all right.
we'd like you to stay on the line. We'll say something really quickly and stay on the line, Joan.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can I ask my question? Yeah, Joan, I'd like to know, is she still hanging around with the same people? Because, like I said, the peer support, peer is, at that age, is much more powerful than parental request. And if she's still hanging around with people who are using drugs or drinking, that makes it really hard.
Really hard. Okay, Joan, please stay on the line. We'll be right back after the break with more help on Addictions Unplugged. Welcome back to Addictions Unplugged. I'm Bev Miller, and joining me each week is Dr. Vera Tarman. Today we're discussing and taking your questions on youth and addiction. Our special guest is Susan Raphael, the Clinical Director for Young Ones, an organization serving youth ages 13 to 24. So please call us with your questions and concerns. We are here to help. Now we do have Joan on the line still. Joan, are you there?
I am.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Vera, continue with what you were saying.
Well, I just wanted to know if your daughter is still with her friends, like what that situation is like.
Yeah, I mean, some of her friends do drink, but other ones, but I mean, she has a few that probably drink as much as her, but she has a few that don't really drink that much.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been, I know now it's probably been 3 or 4 years of the, constant drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you just feel like you've got nowhere to go and no one to help you.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I took her to counseling. I've done so many things, and just.
It sounds like you're
but you just don't want. I never want to give up, and I'll just keep pushing her. But I mean, I can only talk to her so much, and then she'll say, "No, I'll never drink again." But then that's not gonna. It's just not that easy.
Yeah, it's pretty. You're in a pretty frustrating position because it's probably hard to see your daughter, going in this direction. But really, the message that I think is really hard to take, but it is the truth is that you can't change somebody when they're not really decided that they want to stop. You can help when they've decided, but you can't really change. Susan, you want to add what you can?
Yeah. Joan, there are parent support organizations that can help you take care of you while you're trying to also be there for your daughter, which can be very stressful on your, as I'm sure you've experienced, seeking counseling for your daughter already. It's a very hard position for a parent to be in. And yet the parent does have a lot of leverage in the relationship. So remember that. It may feel like you're powerless, but you do have more power than you're probably crediting yourself for with your daughter in terms of the relationship and her love for you and whatnot.
What kind of leverage do you think Joan can use?
Love.
Yeah.
This is about love and confrontation and constant communication about your concerns, how this is affecting you. Boundaries and safe limits you might want to put on your relationship with your daughter so that you are not enabling her. Utilizing what you do have, the good relationship and communication you have with your daughter, and moving forward. Keep on looking. Don't stop. If one door closes, keep searching for help.
I do want to say, Joan, that it is, you might be finding it difficult to think that you can set a boundary and still love somebody. But setting a boundary is still within the context of loving somebody. And if it means that you have to set a boundary so that you can maintain your feeling of love rather than just frustration, that's quite acceptable. Like it's a hard position to be in. But you have to take care of yourself and what you can give.
I know, and sometimes you just feel like all you're doing is give. Like, I mean, I've had nights at the door where the police have actually brought her home.
Oh boy, that must
totally
be so
drunk,
hard.
like fallen over.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it's been many years now. It hasn't just been 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's probably been 4 years now.
No.
So I mean, you think, okay, she's going to be like this till she's. We had in my parents' house. We had a neighbor next door when before she turned 50 2 years ago. I think the doctor said to her, if you don't quit drinking, you're going to die.
Yep.
And my daughter saw that woman, and now that woman for 2 years hasn't drank. She just turned 50. It got to that extreme, like she drank for 20 years.
Yep, that can happen. But I've also seen people change when they're 23 years old. Like it might just be the one thing that you don't know what it's going to be, where that person's, okay, I've had enough. And then they're ready to take the help that you're there to give.
Right.
So that's why Susan's saying don't give up. Like it doesn't have to. It might take her till she's 50, but it might not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joan, we just want to thank you for calling. Be encouraged. Thank you so much for your call, and keep watching. Keep watching. We have another caller, but before that, we just want to encourage you. If you have a question or concern about someone in your life who is addicted or who you think might be, or it could be yourself, feel free to give us a call. We are here to help. Our next caller is Sarah. Sarah, are you there?
Yes, hello, good evening.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for calling. How can we help you this evening?
Well, I think you ladies pretty much covered everything I was going to ask anyway, but I was just concerned. My son's 16. In the past, I figure about a year, he's been smoking cigarettes and using marijuana and drinking. But he's still active, like in his extracurricular activities at school. He has a job now.
That's great.
And he still does hang out with the same crowd.
Yeah. But you know something that, I'm sorry. Can I just say one thing, but don't hang up. The fact that he's working and that he's got extracurricular activities is a really good sign, because that's the peer support group that or peer group that he has to balance off his, I guess, negative friends or his using friends. So really, if there's anything you can do, encourage him to stay in those activities, because they're actually good prognostic indicators for lesser drug use in the future. Yeah. Anyway, ask your question, please.
Okay, my question is how can I tell if it's like he's using all the time, or like how much?
Well, that's the only, I don't know how to answer that question other than to say it's the unusual behavior, the behavior that breaks the routine of what you expect from him. But are you asking that question because he tells you one thing and then you think another?
I'm just concerned that he's doing another thing. Like he said, he's quit
Yeah.
everything. And
What do you do when a teenager, you think that they're lying or they're not telling the truth?
Well, I think what you're getting to is helpful is you have open communication about that he's using. Is there a boundary in the household about him using at home? Is there a boundary about how much he's using, about bringing illegal substances into the home? Are there, limits or and getting to the bottom of some of that may help you understand whether and how problematic his use may be. If he's talking about quitting, explore that. Why is he thinking about quitting? What is it that's going on? Is this something that, it doesn't sound like this is something that you endorse. So, let him know that. Let him know that maybe things have to change, and ask for what you need as well. Ask for what you want in your household. He's 16.
One of the things that's going to be hard is, like, normally you can tell when somebody is using because, like I said, there's a change in their behavior or their mood. But a 16-year-old is already going through changes, hormonal changes, and that's going to make it difficult too, because a person gets more angry. Well, that's what testosterone does. It just makes people boys. They're not used to having this surge of hormones, and so they're going to break out into behavior that they may not have done in the past. So that is going to make it a bit more difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, ladies?
Well, there are indicators,
Okay.
as you're saying, and you're saying Sarah, that he's still involved in extracurricular activities and academically, and that's great.
Yeah.
I would, if I were you, kind of keep on point with that and what he is doing, what he's doing with his, spare money, what he's doing with girlfriends, social group, peer group. Who he's hanging out with, and if he's getting into trouble, our grades slipping. Those are the kind of indicators that can tend to be such that then you would seek some help, and you can seek help now too if you're obviously not comfortable with it. So that's why you're calling, and I think that you got to really kind of honor that gut feeling that this doesn't seem right to you. I like to say that it's difficult to tell teenagerism from the drug using, but usually you can kind of tease it out between, and that's where talking to other parents could be helpful. Is what is your teen going through? What are you seeing? What are you experiencing?
Excellent. Sarah, we just want to thank you so much for your call. Be encouraged. Thanks again for watching. If you or someone you know has an addiction that is hurting yourself or someone you know, feel free to give us a call. We are here to help. Our next caller is Jacob. Jacob, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you doing?
Hi, Jacob. We're well. How can we help you this evening?
Yeah, I was watching the show, and I have more. I don't really have a question. I have more of a concern. I won't really get into detail my life story, but I got introduced to alcohol at the age of 16, and immediately when I got when I felt the buzz of it, I was addicted right away. And what happened at that time, I was suffering from bad dreams. I was 16 years old. I had anxiety. I had fear. So once I experienced the buzz of alcohol, I pretty much latched onto it and didn't really stop. What I did was I used to, during lunch, I would me and my buddy would go to the LCBO store, and we would get people that are going into the LCBO store to buy me liquor, and I just basically drank during school hours to get through the day, and which led to I was dependent on it later on. I did graduate high school. I went to 3 different high schools, and basically the partying throughout my 20s, leading to hospital visitation or hospital due to alcohol poisoning. That I drinking on the streets, filling my backpack full of beer. I had a hard time going anywhere without alcohol in my system, and you know, doing things I don't usually do, like fighting, not being able to hold down a job, and it you know, it pretty much almost ruined my life. Like, I mean, towards the end of my addiction, I had a psychiatrist, and she was prescribing me all these type of medications, and I was abusing them. Like, I was not taking them as I was supposed to. I was crushing them up, and I would pretty much drink the majority of pretty much every single time I drank was to get drunk, and I passed out. Like, it was not uncommon for me to pass out in the bathtub for hours with the water running on me.
So Jacob, are you still drinking now, or it sounds like this is all in the past, or are you still doing this now?
I went to a recovery center. I went to a secular rehab center when I was 27, and it didn't work out there. I ended up going to a faith-based recovery center for 1 year called Teen Challenge, and it definitely did really help out the structure there. I left Teen Challenge. I was there for a year. I left. It was last summer, July, towards the end of July. Since then, I have drank since then, but nowhere near as much as I have, and it's under control. I don't binge drink as much. I'm in school now, but some of the, when you were mentioning earlier on in the program about how the brain and everything, well, I feel like my brain kind of just stopped developing at the age when I started. Like, emotionally, I got stunned, and I basically now, like, it's getting a little bit better, but you know, my memory was shot. And, I have you know, sometimes now I still kind of have a hard time doing simple things, and it's getting a little bit better. It's getting a lot better though.
So Jacob, I just want to, if I can just say for our audience, our viewing audience, that your story that you've described is the typical story of somebody who starts off and is an alcoholic right from the day one, right from the get-go. You know, you describe how you know, your first drink was you felt the buzz, and you knew yourself there was a problem already, and then you describe how you lost everything. It sounds like you were on the street at one point. That I mean, it's just, if anybody wants to know what it's like for a kid to be an alcoholic, well, you know, Jacob, you've just described the story to a T. And then you've also just said that you went to treatment last year, it didn't really take, but now you've kind of moved into what sounds like a moderate drinking. Are you happy with how you're drinking right now?
It's definitely, I mean, it's under control, but
Would you prefer to stop, or are you okay with this?
but it sometimes just the stresses of life and everything gets a little overwhelming, and but I drink, but it's not really to the like I used to drink almost every day or whenever.
Yes. But do you feel like where you are now, do you wish you could stop completely, or do you wish that you could just sort of be how you are right now?
I would, yeah, I would like to stop completely. I mean, I would go maybe a week or two without it, then I would just kind of slowly get back into it, and like the smoking too along the way. I mean, throughout my 20s, I've did like a lot of general labor work, and a lot of guys were smoking, and that's how I kind of started the smoking habit too.
Are you talking about smoking marijuana or just cigarettes?
Cigarettes.
Yeah.
So I started smoking. So the smoking, the drinking, it's not it's on and off again right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not on any meds or anything.
No. Oh, right. And you also mentioned that you were on medication. Boy, that's another part of that story. But do you want to say something about what I mean?
Yeah, well, Jacob, it sounds. Thank you for calling. It sounds like you've had quite a journey, and you know, I would say keep seeking help. Do you have someone that you're seeing currently in terms of psychiatric or counseling to support your journey?
No, I you know, I go to church.
Good.
You know, I feel like I need to stay spiritually strong in this world and feed my spirit, you know, with God's word, and
that's helpful.
I'm working at like an all natural kind of antidepressant. You know, like I'm taking, you know, eating more greens and
very good
vitamins and stuff. So it's not like I'm.
No, it sounds like you've done a really good job.
Yeah.
What about I don't know if you said that you tried the 12-step program. Have you gone to AA or anything like that? That will support more of an abstinence approach.
Yes. Yeah, I have gone to AA.
How have you found that?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me really to admit that I'm an alcoholic. Kind of hard to. You know, as you go around and you say, "Hi, my name is so and so. I'm an alcoholic," and just to admit that I just felt it's kind of a little bit depressing, right? And then
it's depressing on one level, but it's not on another, because it does mean that you'll get help, and recovery is just around the corner. But like Jacob, I just want to remind you, you did call here, and you know, congratulations. One of the things about this show that I would really like to see is that we take the stigma out of addiction, because frankly, every one of us that is watching this show and that is in the universe has got addictive tendencies. I mean, we're human beings, and we're just compelled to want things, and you are not unusual, you are not alone, and we really want to take the sting out of saying, "Hi, I'm an alcoholic," to just saying it's like I'm anxious or I'm depressed or I'm whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Jacob, you're on to a really good start, and we just want to encourage you in your journey. Please continue watching the show. We're going to have to bid you goodbye right now, but thank you so much for calling. That was an awesome thing that you did. Thank you so much. If you have a question, a concern about addiction, feel free to give us a call. That's what we're here for, to help. And we've got Kay on the line. Kay, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Welcome, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much. What is your question for us tonight?
It's not a question.
Okay.
I was just going to tell you a little about just my story, I guess.
All right.
Just before I was 16, I started smoking weed and drinking a little bit. And then when I was like around 16, my one brother, he's older than me, he started doing oxys, and I started, I guess, getting into that and addicted to that for a little bit, Oxycontin. And then for a while I did that, and then my mom and my friend helped me actually find Dr. Tarman, and I've been clean now for about 4 or 5 years. And I have a wonderful husband and a little 2-year-old boy, and he's wonderful, and they helped me a lot too through this. So I just wanted to
I guess, say that for maybe people who are maybe in that situation. It might seem like it's not going to be good at first, but it does get better and stuff. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay, that's awesome. The story of hope.
Yeah, you know, thank you so much for calling in and saying that for other people to hear. I mean, Kate, one of the things that you said is you have a supportive husband and you have a little baby, and I think that that's so important, that it's sobriety is a plus. I mean, I've heard you say many times, this is just way better than where I was before. I mean, the natural highs are much better than the other highs that you probably experienced before. And the other thing is you did the work. Like, if you do the work, there is a golden goose on the other side. There is a positive place to be.
Yeah, recovery is real. It's awesome.
And you must
it's a
see,
wonderful place to be.
And you must hear the same kind of stories.
Yeah, that's why I love what I do. I get to hear all these wonderful stories of transformation.
Fantastic. I love it. The natural highs.
Yeah.
The natural highs are so
highs.
much better.
It's just
That's
love,
what we want.
family. Yeah.
Awesome. Kay, thank you so much for your call this evening. Thank you so much. And if you have a question or concern about addiction, please feel free to give us a call. We're here to help. We have Anna on the line right now. Anna, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi. How are you doing this evening?
I'm fine.
Great. Thanks for your call.
Okay, my question is regarding my daughter. She's 23, and since she was 16, we started having problems of depression with her and anxiety attacks she would get, and she'll go into these temper tantrums at home, and we had probably 3 or 4 years with her in the house. When she was 18, she decided she cannot live with us anymore. She wanted to go out there on her own. We both decide, okay, that's what she wants to do. We let her go, and it's since 18 to 20. It's been about 4 or 5 years now, and within that 4 or 5 years, she keeps moving place to place. She started taking, she's smoking marijuana. She's been in all types of different situations. And obviously, once she's in any kind of problem, she always calls me, and I would be there for her to help her. For me, she's my only child. She's my daughter. She's my life. And during the course of the past 5 years, I and her dad separated also, and I think he's a stronger one where he would say no, he's not going to help. She wants to go out there and see what it is like on her own. Let her do it that way. But I'm the one who would always give in and try to help her. Like she would move into a place, she'd get a job. She would only stay in a job for about 6 months. Then she doesn't have money to pay her rent. Then she'll get kicked out. She'd have to look again. She'll go on social service to help her, and like it's been back and forth all the time, and I'm always there to help her. And then if I try to tell her, well, you know, because she's a very smart kid, she did great in high school. She was such a sweet kid. She happy, outgoing, you know. But since she has a boyfriend who also smokes marijuana and drinks. And all he does is work, and on weekend all he wants to do is drink and party and have friends over. And she's gotten adapted to that lifestyle, and it's very sad for me as a mom to know who she is and to see where she is now. Like I feel instead of her getting somebody in her life to make her grow into something good and do something good with her life, she's being pulled down. I feel helpless from the outside looking in, because every time I try to talk to her, she'll go into a temper tantrum where she'll start swearing at me, and, you know, mom is never right, you know, whatever we say is never right. So, I know she's 23, she's going to be 24 soon. I know as a mom, I'm supposed to let go and let her learn for herself, but I think I gave her enough time to learn, and she's still not being dependent as she should be. And like I wish there's a way I can help her, or if there's some place out there I can refer her to get help.
So Anna, I mean, it sounds to me like you're feeling, the bottom line is you're feeling really helpless. And I just wonder, Susan, what do you do with, how do you make that transition to help somebody, a parent, go from that helpless to a different, more peaceful place?
Well, Anna, I heard you say the solution yourself before you said but. You have to stop rescuing her. You have to let her hit the natural consequence. That's how people learn. They learn from the natural consequence of their behavior. The gift of consequence. She needs to experience what life is like without mom rescuing her. You may not like that answer. That's what will help. It's awfully hard. She's an adult and she's not living under your roof, and yet you're concerned about her. And as long as you keep rescuing her, she's not going to have any kind of motivation to do anything differently, because mom's always there to rescue.
That's right, and it's happened in the past.
Of course, yeah.
Oh yeah, and you know, you heard, I don't know if you heard the other caller, but you know, that mom was saying, you know, what if it takes until the child becomes 50 years old? Like it can take that long, and you know, the consequence of not being able to pay your rent, and then you know what happens next, going into a shelter, whatever, that might be the thing that will wake her up. And much better it'd be that than, you know, cirrhosis at the age of 50.
Right.
Because the consequences get worse, and you know, it's a little bit like, why not, you know, learn now before it hurts too much. I mean, at some point it's going to hurt too much, I mean, but you know, both of us can really, or all three of us can really identify with the difficult position that it is for a mom to have to put that into place. Yeah.
I like what you said, the gift of consequence. That's it. Anna,
That's a great one.
be encouraged. We know that's a hard one, especially for a mom, especially for a mom. But thank you so much for your call, Anna. And do keep watching for more helpful tips and pointers. Thanks so much for your call. If you have a concern, give us a call. We're here to help. Our next caller, we have Vari on the line. Vari, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, thank you so much for your call. How can we help you this evening?
I actually work Young Ones with Susan, so...
Hi, Vari.
Hi, Susan.
Thanks for calling, Vari.
No problem. I do have a question, actually. I struggle more in my own personal experience with behavioral addiction. More self-harm and eating disorder-related behaviors, and I've always considered those an addiction as well.
Good for you. Good for you, because that's not the general psychiatric view, and thank you for saying that, because I am totally on board with you. Anyway, please go on.
And I guess so, but as much as I consider it an addiction, because I feel the compulsion I have for it and my reasoning for it is very similar to a drug or alcohol addiction.
It's a form of self-medication.
Exactly, but I was just sort of wondering, what are the mechanisms that are shared in that sense? As being a psychology major at school, I understand from that perspective, like an alcohol or drug addiction, but I only have ever experienced what I feel from the behaviors.
Well, what do you feel from the behaviors? Tell me what the feeling is when you do something, because you know, somebody who self-harms, the person who doesn't get it at all will say, why would you do something that hurts? But I bet you have a different experience besides the hurt. So why don't you tell us?
And actually, I just did a paper on that at school, and I learned a lot. One of the major things for me that I used to get from it was an outward projection of either the emptiness or the pain that I felt inside.
Yep.
I was unable to verbalize it. I've always struggled with verbally expressing emotions, and this was a way that I could see whatever I was trying to express.
Recognize what was going on inside and have other people see that as well. Yeah. Did it give you any kind of feeling of comfort or numbness or anything like that?
It broke the numbness. So there was a sense of, definitely I got a sense of relief out of it. I know not everybody does.
No. But I mean, I asked that for a good reason. Did you want to say something? I don't want to. I asked that for a reason, because that sense of relief is something that I think people, unless they know it, don't understand that. But you got it. Thank you so much for calling and educating other people about this. Now, you ask, what is the psychological mechanism? Well, I can tell you that one of the mechanisms is it's actually physiological. There's an endorphin response. If I hurt myself, like because I'm running away from something and twist my ankle, I get a flood of endorphins. That's the same flood of endorphins that I get if I cut my wrist, or if I burn myself, or I do some other kind of towards self-harm. It gives us a feeling of numbness and also a feeling of release. Like sometimes people say they do those things to numb themselves from their emotional pain or whatever other pains that they have, and they move into this kind of otherworldly kind of place, which involves some kind of relief. And you mentioned eating disorders, and I am convinced that purging, throwing up, if you don't mind my saying so, is another form of the same kind of endorphin release that gives a person, it hurts, but it also gives them that sense of relief, which sounds crazy, but boy, does it ever not be crazy if you know what I'm talking about.
Right, and it provides that emotional regulation. So people that are engaged in eating disorders or self-harm, it's such a clever construct that's going on, because they're using the body to regulate their emotions. People that take in substances are doing the same thing through ingesting a substance. Someone that's cutting, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to self-harm. The world's pain and our internal pain we can't control, and that's what throws us off. So that's striving to self-regulate and self-soothe, and with purging, restricting, not eating, or self-harming, there is that sense of kind of control over emotions.
Yeah, and it's often why you'll see people who are drinking or doing drugs also engaging in these behaviors, or they stop their drug use and then engage in those behaviors, because it's really the same spectrum, but just disguised as a different type of behavior. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Boy.
Yeah, excellent. We've got about a minute left. Any final words for Vari?
No.
All right. Thank you so much for calling, and be
right.
encouraged. Tonight we're talking about youth and addiction, and it's learning so much about these topics as we come towards the break there. Risk factors. How can we tell that someone's addicted to something?
So some of the risk factors for young people are going to be, the indicators like grades, school, mood. Are they spending a lot of time isolating on their own, backpacks going straight up to bedrooms, doors closed, a lot of time on the internet, which most young people would be doing anyways. Red eyes, new peer group that perhaps is not coming over to the house as much as Joe and Nancy used to.
Including the football team that they were on.
Right. So those are some of the indicators that parents might see.
Great. All right, thank you. We'll be right back after the break with more Help on Addiction Unplugged, and we have another caller, I believe, after the break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Addictions Unplugged. Today we're discussing and taking your questions on youth and addiction. And we do have Cheryl on the line. Cheryl, are you still there?
Yeah.
Great, thanks for waiting. Cheryl, we don't have much time. We're just at the end of the show, but tell us, what is your question or your comment for tonight?
Well, my comment tonight was I was just sort of flipping through and I saw Addictions Unplugged, and I turned it on and I saw Dr. Tarman, and I have to just say that it was, just great to see her. Dr. Tarman was the doctor that was at the Homestead Rehab that I went to 9 years ago.
Are you serious? 9 years ago?
9 years ago, Dr. Tarman. I have 9 years clean this year.
Oh my God!
Congratulations!
And I just, would like to say to the listeners that there definitely is life after addiction. I was 47 when I hit the doors of rehab. I was alcoholic and I was addicted to crack. And
that's a lot.
it was a very low point in my life. I was homeless, jobless, and penniless, and I had been a six-figure earning executive. So it was quite a long fall from grace. And but I had to hit that place. I had to hit that wall of nothingness. And when I got to rehab, you know, it was just one day at a time. And,
Cheryl, can I
you
just
know,
ask
one
you,
day at a time, I have put my life back together, and I have an amazing life today.
Yeah.
I'm married to a wonderful man.
oh boy,
I can be a good daughter. I'm a grandmother. I have a job, and I've rebuilt my life to a fabulous place. And I just, you know, Dr. Tarman, you were absolutely a piece of that, and I could never thank you enough.
oh thank you, thank you so much. Can I just ask you, did you feel like you needed to hit that bottom to get to where you are now?
Absolutely. You know, when you hit that place at 47, it's because, you know, I was pretty determined and had a pretty strong will, and always wanted to do things my way.
Yeah.
Hugely manipulative. You know, a bit of a survivor.
Yep.
You know,
You have to
growing
be.
up. I mean, you know, there were challenges that, and I thought that I was, you know, strong.
Yeah.
But really, I was weak. And
Yeah.
of course, the crack.
Oh yeah.
I heard a saying that alcohol and crack are the gateway drugs to Christianity.
Yeah, right. Well, you have no. Yes. Yeah. Well,
But I just want to say that, you know, if anyone thinks that it's not possible, it is possible. It's absolutely possible, and it's worth every challenge and you know, anything and that you need to do. I mean, how willing are you? And I know for me, I was ready, and I have no regrets. I have just lots of gratitude.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for telling that story, Cheryl. Like, really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And, you know, the piece that I just heard you say is that there was a willingness. And that's the whole thing. If a person is not decided, they're not going to do that hard work that Cheryl did. Anyway, thank you so much. That's a great way to end this show. Thank you.
Keep it up, Cheryl.
Cheryl, Cheryl, thank you so much for calling. That's an amazing story of hope and recovery. So all of our listeners out there can do this. You can do this. Thank you, Cheryl, so much. All right. But doing this takes some help from organizations like yourself.
Right, and I'll take this opportunity to plug Young Ones as having its
that.
very first gala to raise money for the organization, and that's going to happen on May the 8th. So please contact us at youngones.ca. Give us a call or Facebook page us, and we'll tell you more about our wonderful gala coming up.
Yeah. I mean, really, you want to support something. I mean, free service, like free 10 sessions is amazing.
Right.
I mean, I work in this industry and nothing is free.
It just doesn't happen. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is really worth supporting.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
We've got about 90 seconds to go. I know you like saying something before we go.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, this show is called Addictions Unplugged. You know, it's all about take your power back. You know.
Actually, you know what? We got 2 minutes.
Okay.
I lied to you. We got 2 minutes. Take your time.
Okay. I'm tongue-tied now. I'm going to let you finish off here.
Something about taking it back,
Yes,
taking back
yes,
the
yes,
power and all of that.
Yes, the power is ours. Take it back.
There you go.
Thank you.
Awesome. And we can take it back with programs like yours and the
Absolutely,
programs like what you do as well at Renaissance.
That's right, Renaissance and Homestead, yes.
Right.
A good point. Renaissance in the last number of years has reduced their entry age to 16. You know, that reflects the change and the trend of needing younger service. Now, granted, adolescent services are very helpful when they're specific to adolescents, but that's a good sign that we're responding to the need.
And you know, and Renaissance is accepting people who are going in with just quote the soft drug marijuana. Because it's not a soft drug.
It's not, as
no,
you
that's
have
right, and
told us now.
we're recognizing that. So it's definitely opened its doors to more than just alcohol. It's everything now. Yeah.
And children are starting younger. You said your organization starts from 14, or are
It's
there for
amazing.
younger as well? Are there any programs for younger?
There are.
Okay,
are
good.
They kind of fall in the children category for children's services. So.
Right. Excellent. Well, ladies, I've learned a lot tonight. You know, the numbers are just mind-blowing. We need more education for our kids. We need more programs. We need to encourage them to take that step.
Right.
And Thank you so much for being here, both of you,
Thank
on our
you.
program
Thank you,
tonight.
Bev.
Well, we are out of time. I'd like to thank our special guest tonight, Susan Raphael, for joining my co-host, Dr. Vera Tarman, and myself. And I'd like to thank all of our callers. It takes courage to call in.
Yes.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.